Hey guys, Boosack here. Now, of course, I've talked a little bit from time to time about what it's like to live in Iowa. Of course, a lot of you guys probably know this state as the flyover state. Just the state that you guys just fly over when you go to California, when you go to Florida, or wherever you're going, right? We're just that state that you guys just fly over and probably don't even notice unless you look outside the window of your plane. But, you know, I gotta say though, it is just fucking boring here in Iowa. There's just nothing to fucking do. I'm dead serious. There's nothing to fucking do. And this pandemic just made it even worse because this year we didn't even have the fair. Now, our fair here in Iowa is actually just happens to be the biggest in the U.S. actually. However, we didn't even have it this year because of the COVID-19 BS going on, right? So then it just made this state even more fucking boring. Although one of the few things that we did get to do this year was we actually got to set off our own fireworks, which I know some states weren't able to do, sadly. Felt real sorry for you on that side, but other than that, this place is just fucking boring. It's nothing to fucking do. I mean, there's hunting, and then there's camping, and then there's fishing, and farming, obviously. And, the stereotype about Iowa having all these farms here is actually not far from the truth. I mean, the stereotype is actually kind of for real. Almost everywhere you look here in Iowa, there's a fucking farm somewhere. In a quite literal sense. If you go anywhere, step anywhere in Iowa, you're probably going to at least see one farm. I mean, of course, but lots of people have asked me about the internet issue here. Well, there isn't really actually much of an issue here, to be frank. We actually have good internet. That's at least for one. We at least have that. But, as far as like my old town and the town I'm living in now, I mean, there's plenty of guys, and sometimes these small towns, like, they don't take kindly to people outside of town. I mean, even if they're from a neighboring town, they sometimes don't take kindly to them. They seriously won't talk to hardly anybody outside of town. They really won't. Even if they know you for 10 years or so, you will still be like a stranger to them. And every time I say that to somebody, they're like, yes, that's true. I used to live in a small town for 15 years. You will never, ever earn their respect. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. I swear to fucking God. Even in a small town that I used to live in, it was the case with at least some of them. I just don't know what it is with some of them. They're just too fucking ignorant. Too fucking ignorant. But, But as far as my own town to live in now, I mean, again, not much else to do besides, the smaller towns. I mean, in my old smaller town, there was like a gas station, and the town is so freaking small that the police station is right next to the freaking bar. No joke. I wish I could show you guys a picture of it right now, but unfortunately, my last phone broke, and so I don't have the picture of it anymore. But I could probably drive over there like 15 minutes from now, take the picture, and come back, but I don't feel like doing that. I mean, gas station, the bar, police station. I mean, a school, a small school, but not much else really. And as far as the town living now, I mean, at least we have some fast food restaurants. We have a Walmart. I mean, that's already right there, like 2 times better than like the road coming outside of my old town. That's kind of smaller. It is just so shitty. I mean, especially during wintertime. God, I wish they would put a better road outside of that town. I mean, because when it snows enough, you're basically are just stuck in that town. It's just so fucking bad. If you don't have a four-wheeler, like four-wheel drive vehicle, you're not getting out of that fucking town when it snows enough. Let me tell you, man. I mean, that's part of the reason why you see some of these rednecks with these trucks, because they're just more versatile in areas like this. They just are. With not very reliable roads and such, and just gravel roads and stuff. But anyway. I mean, yeah, still, there really isn't much to do around my town, and then there's a whole deal about the stereotype of the druggies here, or as I like to call them, tweakers. And, I would say that's 50% true. But, you've also got to understand people around here sometimes is that, we live right next to I-80, which is where a lot of people come through from out of states. And that's where most of the drugs are also coming in. So, of course, when people come from out of state into Iowa, whenever they do, of course, they just see all these druggies because they're coming off of I-80, which is where all the drugs are coming off of, right? So when they come here to Iowa, they're just thinking, well, shit, everybody here in Iowa is just a fucking tweaker. Well, let me tell you something again. I mean, just 15 minutes from here, like, a lot of the small towns people actually think that the tweakers here are weird. I mean, a lot of the small towns people in my previous town were not like that. At least not most of them, anyway. I mean, and as far as what there is to do in town around here, I mean, there's, the crappy, racetrack that's neighboring to this town that they have. And then there's, fast food again. And then smoking weed, obviously. I don't smoke weed, but I know plenty of people that do, obviously. And then there's driving around in circles. I mean, and you could do all these things at once. You could get some fast food, get some weed, and drive around in circles all at the same time around this town. And that's basically all there is to do around this freaking town. I mean, there's just nothing to fucking do around here. Which I know is understandably part of the reason why there's so many tweakers around here, because there's just nothing to fucking do. There's nothing to fucking do. There really is not. This town, this state, is just fucking boring. It's boring. I mean, yeah, if you go to, like, Illinois, which is next door, and you go to Chicago, which is over a few hours from here, obviously, I mean, there's always shit going on. There's always shit going on in the cities. There's always something to do. But around places like this, that's not the case. In fact, right now, at this time, what's it, like past 8 o'clock at least? There's nothing to do around after this hour, especially because of the COVID-19 stuff that's making us close down shit earlier. I mean, yeah, after 8 to 9 o'clock, maybe a couple restaurants open, a couple gas stations. That's about it. Plus, again, I mean, there's really nothing to fucking do. If you don't hunt, fish, go camping, or are a farmer, there's nothing to do for you here. I mean, I only live here because I'm just used to it. I'm used to being isolated. I mean, also introverts, I can take some isolation, I can take some isolation and some quiet. But for somebody that's extremely extroverted sometimes, I mean, plus I think it's always kind of silly sometimes how sometimes the guys will give me shit about going out. And then I'll ask them, hey, have you ever been out of state? And they're like, well, I mean, I go out a lot. I said, hey, have you ever been out of state? Is what I'm asking. They're like, no. It's like, okay, so you're giving me shit about going out, but you've never even been out of state? I mean, I've been in and out of this state, growing up. I mean, I've been to more than several different places. I vacationed, etc., Florida. I'm thinking about going to Las Vegas, Nevada sometime, just for the hell of it. But, it's always funny, these guys, they try to act like they aren't isolated here, like hermits. But the truth is that they're so isolated that they don't even realize that they're isolated. But, I digress. You can't always blame people for that, though, because, sometimes people like that actually do isolate themselves for a reason. You never know what kind of trauma that people go through sometimes, and you can't always really judge. But, of course, with that being said, I will end this video. And that, in a nutshell, is basically what it's like to live here in Iowa. I'm sure it sounds a lot more exciting to you, because I'm just only making it sound more exciting. See ya. Bye.